Happy New Year. I wasn't going to do a video tonight, but I just had to. I've already dropped a video today on Rap Ferreira, great album if you haven't heard it. But like Joey Badass released this song, and it's just too much fun. Ruler's Back is too much fun. I don't think of it just as a beginning of a potential beef with the West Coast or with Kendrick Lamar. I think of it as a glorious continuation of what Kendrick Lamar started last year. This renewed emphasis on lyricism in rap music, and this renewed emphasis on hip hop as culture and not just commodity. Let's keep this party going. Or I guess the party's dead, but whatever the party died, it was reborn. And this new party that we have is way more fun than the party from last year, okay? So let's just keep it going. Sometimes I'll chat back and forth with some of the other people like from the Culture United live streams and all that, and like I think it was Jeremy Hecht who sent me a message, a very nice message, and was like, have a great year. I think this year is going to be better for us all than last year. And I remember thinking, there's no way that's possible. There's no way, because like what we're doing, the best part of what we did wasn't just talking about, who's sleeping with who and who's baby daddy and who's touching what babies, all that kind of stuff. It was like getting into the art of hip hop and the meaning of the culture. And I thought that might be dead with 2024. I thought when that ball dropped, I thought, well, I was asleep. I was asleep as hell by midnight. You think I got 4 kids and I'm staying up till midnight? Man, I watched like 10 minutes of Severance and fell asleep. Anyways, whenever that ball fell, I thought, well, maybe that's it. Maybe we're just going to go back and it's just going to be Future Gunna Drake, Future Thug Drake, Future Gunna Drake, Drake Gunna. I thought it was just going to be that. But this appears to be... This appears to be indicating that this is continuing on. And I just want to enjoy this moment. I've been watching every other commentator who I watch and subscribe to. I've watched all of them talk about this, and all of them managed to say something different. So why not make this? Because I'm going to say something different. Now listen, I'm not a part of hip-hop culture. I'm an observer, okay? I know that. Okay, I'm an observer, I'm a tourist, but I do have special rights to talk about Joey Badass because, and you may not know this, I am a certified badass. Okay, my brother gave me this card. He bought it at a CVS in Somerville, Massachusetts in 1992, and I keep it with me at all times, just in case Eazy-E ever pulls up and pulls my card. I have that for him. So the thing I want to add to this whole conversation is a prepositional question. So we're talking about it as an attack on Kendrick, but I want to think of it also as an attack with Kendrick. We're thinking of it as an attack from New York, but I also want to think of it as an attack on New York. That's why I think this song is so interesting. Thank you for auditing the Always Positive New Music Review Show, hosted by a French professor who has really been enjoying watching everybody. I want to say that I've seen a couple people refer to hip-hop as a competitive sport. I saw Screwface Jean, who I'm really learning to enjoy. He's much more than just a reactor. He's actually a very good analyzer as well. I underestimated him because I am a snob when it comes to reactors, but that's on me. He calls it a competitive sport. Jeremy Hecht called it a competitive sport. I would like to humbly put forth the idea that we don't call hip-hop a competitive sport because all sports are competitive. Hip-hop is a competitive art, and it is the only competitive art. Okay, it's what makes it special is that it's simultaneously art and competitive. So I love that. Obviously, that's the great thing. And I'm not going to go through all the lyrics here because you've already read the lyrics. You've already seen Rob Markman's breakdown. You've already seen everyone else's breakdowns. You've already done it. Like I want to talk about what does this mean? How is he working with? Obviously, he's attacking Kendrick for being short and being from LA and all that stuff. But I actually think this reminds me of a thing where. I used to have a babysitter, a guy named, I won't say his name, but he was a New York City taxi cab driver. My parents picked him up hitchhiking, and they decided to make him the primary babysitter for me. It was the 80s. I guess that's an excuse. But one thing he would do is he would drive around with me and my brother. My brother introduced me to hip-hop. The same brother who gave me this card. And we were a couple kids, 12 years old, 6 years old, and we'd make a lot of noise. So he'd do something called the quiet game. And when he'd tell us the quiet game, he'd say, whichever one of you is the quietest wins. And we were so competitive because we're brothers, that we would try to do it. And I remember thinking our babysitter's such a fool. I'm going to kick ass at this game. And I thought that I was doing something for me when really I was doing it for him. You think Kendrick Lamar does not want good, talented artists coming after him? You don't think Kendrick Lamar wants somebody like Joey Badass coming after him? Of course he does. That is what he is trying. Like I think that was the point. I think that was the point of him saying the whole, I'm the king of New York in the Control verse, or the whole bit where he actually quoted Biggie in TV Off. I mean, like, you think the Bay's going to let you disrespect Pac, right? Remember when he said that about Drake? Like, I didn't hear anybody from New York say anything about the fact that an LA rapper was just quoting Biggie. Now, we all love Kendrick, but, like, come on now. That's supposed to elicit something. I think Kendrick has kind of been poking New York with a stick, trying to see what's going on. And I think the more that New York and LA fight, the more that people go after him. It's like a parent while their kids play the quiet game. That's what he wants. The art, the culture growing, the competitive art of hip hop going back to its roots and not just being about whether or not Kiki still loves you. Drake, give up. Kiki does not love you anymore. Because Drake, ding dong, the witch is dead. Did you see Wicked? I didn't. I don't have enough time to go to the movies. I might see Nosferatu tomorrow if I'm lucky. I'm definitely not going to spend a lot of time watching Wicked. But, the whole thing is, the house falls on the witch and the witch is dead. Kendrick killed the witch. Drake is dead. There's a power vacuum in hip hop. And Kendrick can fill it. But can he fill everything? So absolutely, this is great. Attack Kendrick for getting nominations. Talk about your murals. Okay? Because what's the most important line of the song? This is for every time they left me out of the conversation. Kendrick said, it's just Big Me. And I think he wants every rapper to say, it's just Big Me. I imagine he probably would have liked J. Cole to actually have kept going and try to say, it's Big Me. That's what rap is. It's a competitive art. So yeah, throw out the Black Air Force energy, make fun of him for being short, use the term Elohim, go after the whole West Coast, get it going. Man, he said too legit to quit. I haven't seen anyone mention that, maybe because a lot of you are too young. When you say West Coast rapper to me, probably the second or third name that pops into my head is Hammer. Because he was a big deal, okay? He was a big, like, imagine Hawk Tuah, but bigger. That's how big Hammer was back in the day. And Too Legit to Quit, man, I remember when that video came out, it had a tie-in with Pepsi, and like the video was premiering on MTV, and like they were promoting it for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and I remember all of us were just like, oh my God, so, he's attacking all the West Coast, and that's what's great, because rap needs regions. The internet is great. The decentralization brought about by technology has allowed rappers, I would argue, like anybody out of Florida, to get a voice at the table, because Florida itself is so decentralized, and would Denzel Curry and Doechii have been able to get out of their region 25 years ago? Maybe, maybe not. But the problem is it has kind of a flattening out function. And what's ended up happening is for the past 10, 15 years, there's only been two regions. Drake, which I'll call Toronto, but just Drake, just him. And then Atlanta. And I don't think Kendrick is trying to kill Atlanta, but I think he knows that Atlanta might not be good for what he wants to see in rap. That's why what he wants is the quiet game or the loud game. He wants New York and California to go against each other. I guarantee you he does. I guarantee you he heard the song, and if he responds to it, it's not because he's trying to tear Joey down, but because he's trying to build on what Joey's building on, which is what Kendrick's built in the first place. Let me think of a sports analogy, Because, New York versus California would be so great. And that's why I'm hoping this is part one of the East Coast, West Coast 2025 beef video. I pray that it is, Because it's these regions matter. There's heritage, So I'm from Boston, so I love the Patriots. But when the Patriots were winning, everybody hated them, They hate us because they ain't us, as Vince Wilfork said, but also they hated us because we were detestable, and we were not football culture. I'm from Boston, but man, Bostonians don't care about football. Every Bostonian who says he's loved the Patriots his whole life either was born in 1990 or is a goddamn liar, at least in my experience, okay? I didn't know any real Patriots fans growing up. So when the Patriots were winning, it was kind of interesting, but I'm thinking about the Eagles, right? The Philadelphia Eagles, who hate the New York Giants. But in that Super Bowl, were Eagles fans really rooting for the Patriots to beat the Giants, or was it good for the sport if a real team wins? If the real thing wins. Right now in soccer, for those of you who are following association football, I imagine there's quite a few Manchester United fans rooting for Liverpool, their most hated enemies, because Manchester City is bad for the sport. Atlanta and Toronto are bad for the sport. So I think it's great. And I think it's really important. And if you watch the Read My Soul video, which I'm a little bit annoyed that Reed did that, because he said a lot of the stuff I was going to say, but he said it way better, and he said it with a lot of like actually lived experience because he's from New York. So anyways, go stop this video and go watch his video. But like his whole video was about like it's New York's fault that they suck, right? It's New York's fault because like I've been doing this channel for 7 years, and this is like the best New York rap album by far. I think Rome Streets is the king of New York, and you might not have heard of him if you're watching this video. I mean, I think he's awesome. I mean, I think he is great. I think he's one of the greatest MCs alive right now. I think he is easily a top 5 MC right now, you know? But like, he's not as famous as Denzel Curry. He's not as famous as Pop Smoke. So is Pop Smoke the king of New York? Maybe. Of all the albums I've reviewed of the last 7 years, Ice Spice? Is Ice Spice the king of New York? Is Cardi B the king of New York? If you go on Hot 97, okay, that's the New York radio station, what rapper from New York do you hear the most on Hot 97? Please tell me in the comments if you know, because I am imagining the answer is Cardi B, and she has not released an album since 2018, was it? You know, and no one wants it. And I'm thinking about like when I went to the Hip Hop 50 concert, you know? I went to the Bronx. Me, a Red Sox. That's how much I love hip hop. I went to the house that A-Rod built to see the Hip Hop 50 concert, okay? And if you're a Yankee fan and you're mad at me calling it the house that A-Rod built, read the receipts, you championship losing losers. Anyways, Hip Hop 50, great event, you know? unless you are hoping for the vitality of New York City rap, which birthed the art form. Because, like, Slick Rick was there, Dougie Fresh was there, Nas was there, Grandmaster Flash, EPMD. I think maybe Kool Mo D was the youngest rapper there. I mean, it was bleak. There was only one New York rapper under 40 at that event that I could figure out, and that was Boogie with a Hoodie, and who's great, you know, he's great, but like he's not the king of New York. He's not Drake. He's not Vince Staples, right? So I love this. I love the idea of kind of poking people with a stick. That's what I want. I want Kendrick to have poked people with a stick. When he called himself the king of New York, when he quoted Biggie, I want people to say, hey, this is New York. And I want all those rappers who heard Joey Badass, who, despite the fact he also is a certified badass, or at least a certified bad, a $, he at the very least, like, just took it. And who's going to fight him? Who's going to come up against him? Get him. A$AP Rocky, get him. Rome Streets, get him. Dear God, how much do I want Rome Streets to just go after him? I mean, they've collaborated. I'm sure they're friends. I'm sure. But like, let's get this competition going. Who's the king of New York? If you see my thumbnail, you know I based it on the source. When we talk about the East Coast, West Coast beef, so much stuff gets lost. It just gets flattened. Because first of all, people incorrectly say, oh, they died because of the beef. No, they died because West Coast gangster culture is way, way too violent. But anyways, like, they don't really, at least in general, people just talk about the East Coast, West Coast beef, and they might talk about the Source Awards, but another thing happened. On the July issue of The Source in 1995 featured Notorious B.I.G. standing large over the city right next to the World Trade Center while they were still standing, but they had been bombed once, so they were injured, but still standing, and it said, Notorious B.I.G., the king of New York. And when this happened, everybody said, what? No, you can't just say that. This is New York City. We are the ones who created this art and that created this like vitality and these arguments, you know? The question, is it Nas? Is it Jay-Z? Is it Biggie? You know, who is it going to be? Is it going to be Busta Rhymes? Who's it going to be? There's so many names you could just pick, you know? And that was Biggie This is Joey Badass trying to do that. You can't do that because the source, I don't think, exists. Sorry, my baby really is upset about the source ceasing its publication. I'm upset too. I'm upset too. But like, I think that's what he's doing. I think he's calling himself the King of New York so everyone gets at him. As my sort of final note here, my final kind of cute note here, everyone's talking about how it's referencing and paying homage to Jay-Z, but I would like to say I think he's trying to piss Jay-Z off because I think we need to hear from Jay-Z. Hey, Jay-Z, Nas just released 6 albums in a couple years, and Jay-Z's my #1 MC of all time, right? But right now, Nas has got you wiped down, Jay-Z. Wake up. Joey Badass is coming in and he's calling himself the King of New York. Jay-Z, I know you're such a businessman. Actually, I'm sorry. You're not a businessman. You're a businessman. I know, Jay-Z, but you're also... Jesus Christ, what if like Jimi Hendrix like became the president of Reprise Records? Like how disappointing would that have been? You know what I mean? I mean, jeez. So I think, because the references are all over the place, right? Obviously the title, even though it's a Slick Rick reference, it's also a Jay-Z reference, the first track off the Blueprint, The Ruler's Back. So right there, I think he's quoting Jay-Z, but maybe he's also saying, I'm the ruler, not you. And then as Rob Markman correctly pointed out, he says, Brooklyn, where I'm from, that's like the song Where I'm From, which is one of like the 3 good songs on Jay-Z's. This might be the most disappointing rap album of all time. It is unbelievably bad for how good of a rapper Jay-Z is. Volume 1, and then of course Too Much West Coast Dick Lickin'. Just when you hear that, you immediately go to 22 Twos off of Reasonable Doubt. So I'm kind of hoping he's trying to aggravate. Just come with me, would you? Come with me. It's 2025. Let's imagine this. Jay-Z releases a song called Still the King. I know. Kanye did a song called Still the King. That's fine. No one remembers that. That was on like Donda 11, okay? He releases a song called Still the King, and he goes after A$AP Rocky. I mean, he goes after, sorry. No, he probably wouldn't. Goes after Joey Badass. And then Rome Streets says, who you callin' king? Imagine they come out. And then Joey Badass finally drops his album because he just needs to drop more music, as Read My Soul. And Sean C. both correctly pointed out, Joey Badass, maybe stop being a badass and be more of a recording artist. Imagine we have a great Joey Badass album that he's been cooking, and then Rome Streets and Jay-Z come back and they are fighting for the crown. Meanwhile, on the West Coast, Kendrick takes a direct shot or maybe features on whatever. Hit a J3 does a song and Kendrick has a verse on it or something like that. Some kind of East Coast, West Coast sporting thing happening. And all of a sudden, all of the hip hop channels like this one and like all the ones that I've mentioned get together and they get to talk about it and we get to talk about the value of a competitive art and the meaning of this culture. I don't mean to be cheesy, but I am giving myself goosebumps because that's what we could do because it's January 2nd. Jeremy was right. It's going to be a good year. And also, not for nothing, but the beat rules. Conductor Williams, you might be saying, hey, Professor Sky, do you have a Conductor Williams Lego set? No, I don't have a Conductor Williams Lego set. I bought 2. One for my son, one for me. Merry Christmas. I think he may be the most interesting. I don't know. He is always in the top 5 producers. He's what makes this album so special, along with the great rhyming. I think if we have a lot more conductor beats, I think everything will be a lot better. Oh my God. All right, so there we go. I can't find the camera. Where is the camera on this thing? I don't know. I've recorded this video a couple times. I had to stop once because my dog Bo was snoring so bad, I had to turn it off. All right, there's the camera. Which one of these damn things is the camera?